UCM workshop as part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit Valencia 2024. Thank you for joining. My name is Andre and I will be your moderator today. Today's session is titled, How Can the Quality of Use Cases Be Measured? The speakers for the session are Cornelius Preidel, Chairman at buildingSMART Germany, and Thomas Glaettli, Managing Director at buildingSMART Switzerland. The session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to the speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of this session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel. For the attendees here in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum. And if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand and use a microphone. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of Antitrust Code of Conduct. Now, I would like to hand over to Thomas.
Just take a minute to switch over to Thomas. Maybe as a few words of introduction, good morning to everyone. Thanks for participating in this one here. As you may notice in a second, actually the main actor today, it's not me, but it's Thomas, who can unfortunately be here physically, but we have him here virtually. And he's gonna actually guide us through the slides and through the presentation and the workshop. My main job here is mainly actually to hold the microphone and also guide you through the moderation. But now, Thomas, the stage is yours.
Yeah, wonderful. So, good morning from Switzerland. Unfortunately, I'm not able to join you at Valencia in person, but I'm really happy and glad to make this presentation to you here from Switzerland. What is the topic? You all may know the use case management service, and this workshop is about a new use case assessment system. So the big topic is always how do we measure the quality of use cases? So far on the use case management service itself, we do not have a quality rating available, and this will be a next step to make this available to the whole community. So what is the workshop about? First, it's I give you a short overview about the use case management itself, how it's built up and where do you find the different content. And then I will introduce the idea of a use case assessment system. And then we go into the workshop itself. So you have to be a little bit active this morning. We will have a Mentimeter workshop together. And then a short outlook about how long this will take to implement the use case management, and then Q&A session. So first of all, I'd like to give you this short overview about the use case management service. So as a user, what do you see if you go on our website, so ucmbuildingsmart.org? You see basically this section here. So you have on the left side, you have the filter page where you can filter languages or in what kind of chapter, for example, the use case is published by. In the middle, of course, you have the use case itself. I will explain you the different parts of the use case afterwards. And on the right-hand side, we have an identification part where you see, of course, the IDs of the use cases, but also the different status, where we are in the use cases, and what kind of changes were made. So the use case itself, it starts basically with a definition of the use case. So you have aim, scope, objectives, limitations, and so on. You have different references. This is the written part of the use case, so that everybody understands the use case. In the next section, you have the process definition, which is very important, so that you know what kind of actors are doing or executing this use case, and what kind of action will happen here. And this is also kind of a cooking recipe. This steps are then also described in a very detailed way, so that everybody can understand what happens on this process here. The next step is then the exchange requirements. So you have here the exchange requirements, for example, of this use case. This is a table. You can also download this table. So this is the part where everybody can understand what kind of properties are used for this use case. And the next section is then basically the IDS section. So today you can already upload some IDS in an IDS version, and as soon as we have the version 1.0, we will update this feature here on the use case management, so that you can upload an IDS file, that you see the version, the upload date, and once the IDS audit tool is available, the use case will be, of course, verified. The IDS will be verified before the upload, so that you see that you have a verified IDS available here on the use case. This is an upcoming feature as soon as we have version 1.0 and the audit tool available to the market. Next step are the comments. So you have always a comment section. This comment section is now exactly the part where we're going to discuss. So we will update this section with new parts, which I will introduce you in the next step here. Also available on the use case itself, on the software tools and services, are some testimonials from different software vendors. So this is just a text part actually, and we will enhance this part really into a clear way, in a structured way, where you see how software is implemented, or how use cases are implemented in a software. And the last but not least, you have always the imprint, where you also see who is the project group which worked on this use case, and of course you see the partners who worked on the use cases, who contributed here. I think this is also very important, that you see a use case should not only be from one single company, but based on a broad experience from different companies. So this is how use cases look today. And in the next step, I'd like to introduce this use case assessment system. What is the idea behind it, and how we will introduce it implement it in the system here. So the aim, basically, the major goals are that we have a transparent and very comprehensive assessment of use cases, so that everybody understands how a use case quality is measured, but in a very easy way. So it shouldn't be something complicated, but easy to understand. So this means by the end we will have a clear classification of the applicability of use cases, meaning we will have kind of a 5-star system, where you say, okay, 1 star is maybe something as an example, but a 5-star use case is then really a proven practice. A very important part is the integration of use cases in software applications. Really the software vendors are also active on the use case management, and they should test how a use case can be executed. And of course, the implementation depth of use cases in a software is one of the key criteria here. And we like to keep it simple from, let's say, from the tenant owner. We like really to have an assessment system which is driven by the community. So most important are the feedbacks or user testimonials from the community, because community knows best how it worked in real projects. So we like to collect this feedback and implement it into the system. And also what we will introduce is that you can have a like on the use cases, so that we see how many people really use cases and like this one. So this is an additional part to the use case management. And I like to go a little bit into deep, that you understand the use case assessment system, because we like to have your feedback. This is our proposal from the project team, but we like to have the whole community here to give your feedback to us how we shall implement this system here. So as I explained to you in the beginning, a very simple system to understand. So it will be a quality rating, a 5-star quality rating, so that we say, okay, a 1-star with low quality is maybe an Outlook. Then a 2nd star would be an example from a company who really run this use case and used it. Then we go into practice from a broader project team till the best practice, and by the end, kind of a proven practice. I call it proven practice. We can also call it established practice. These are really use cases which are very close to a standard. And as you see here, the first 3 stars, they are just verified by the project teams. So a project team say, okay, this is what we did, and the community can give some feedback. While the best practice and proven practice use cases, they must be verified on real projects. So the feedback from projects must be considered and must be also explained on the use case management platform. So how do we do the rating? That we have still a simple rating, but still it must be consistent. We have 3 sections. So we have the first section, which is done by, let's say, the tenant owner, so meaning buildingSMART Switzerland, buildingSMART Germany, for example. So the responsible people there, they will publish the use case, and prior the publication, they will do a diligence check. So it means that the use case is checked for completeness and availability of authorship. What does that mean? Completeness means you have a clear structure of the use case, as I showed you before. So you have a description, you have the process, you have the exchange requirements, and you have the IDS. So, and today we have a number of use cases. They had, for example, they just have a description part and the process part. So this would mean that they are just 2-star use cases. Then also important is the language. The use case management is a multi-language tool, so you have 5 different languages available at the moment. More can be added quite easily. So the lower rated use cases will be available just in a local language. Also English could be a local language here, of course. But the best practice and proven practice use case must be available in a local language and mandatory also in English. Otherwise, the global community cannot use these examples here. And the authorship, that means the project team and responsible people. Sometimes, of course, there are a lot of changes in the industry, so project teams are changing, and if a project team is not available anymore, then of course we cannot further develop a use case, and we cannot give feedback to this team. So this means would be a 1-star use case. Then for an example, we have an idle authorship, means it needs some time before this team would be in charge again and available again. And for all others, we have a team which is active, so this we can do quite easily. Then the next bigger part is the software integration. Here, the software vendor will be in charge. We have a lot of use cases where software vendors already working together with the project team in the implementation of a use case. And this was the example I showed you before, for example. And here, what we try to have is that we say, okay, for the lower rated use cases, we do not have any software integration. For the practice use cases, this was just done by the project team with a certain software. And for best practice and proven practice, we have a configuration example, for example, or a full documented solution. We will go into details afterwards in the workshop here. And then the bigger part of the community, so the BIM maturity grade should be rated. So we like to have some testimonials from the community. And here you see, starting with practice, where we have just a few, just one testimonial, going up to 3 to 5 testimonials for best practice, and more than 5 testimonials would mean this is really a proven practice used quite widely in the industry. Of course, these numbers we have to discuss to see are they applicable or not. So this is the system. I think should be quite easy to understand. Maybe I make an example how this would look like. So we have a complete use case, so including information delivery specification, including English version and the active authorship. The software vendor made a configuration example, but we have only one feedback from the community with one testimonial. This would mean this would be a 3-star use case shown later on the website itself. So this is how it's rated. As soon as we have more testimonials, it would be automatically switched to best practice here. So this is how it would work. So always the lowest rating is where we do the quality rating. So I showed you in the beginning the identification part of a use case. So today you see here this identification part, how it looks like. A lot of different possibilities, and we like to switch that into a bit easier to understand part. So the identification is clearly just on the use case. This is also kind of the technical data, and the author, of course, and the publisher is available here. And then you see here the quality rating, meaning you see it's a 4-star use case here. You have also an info part then on each of these ratings where you see how it's defined. And then you see the example here, diligence would be 5-star. So it's a complete use case. Software integration and maturity grade is only 4-star, meaning this is a 4-star use case. So I think quite easy to understand. And in addition, we would like to have this like sessions where you see you have about 300 likes, would be a ranking 23 of 350 use cases. So this would be our proposal how this rating could look like. And the new section, so the filter will be reduced, so you don't have so many filters because this will be done more automatically. So you can have, for example, a filter for quality and for likes and so on. And the use case itself, it stays consistent. And the ID and the rating, or the identification part, is now together with the rating. So very easy to understand here how the quality of a use case is rated. So are any questions out of the auditorium?
No, okay. Now we're online back again. Thank you, Thomas, actually, for the great presentation so far. I mean, like, we're just getting into the workshop mode, but do you have any questions? I've seen that it's a bit tricky, actually, to see all the details from the last rows. So maybe if there was any questions or whatsoever, now is the time to clarify. Maybe more in general, a question to you. What do you think about the quality rating in the use case management? Does that make sense? A lot of nodding.
In my opinion, it's,
Otherwise, Thomas cannot hear.
yeah, sorry, one moment. In my opinion, I think it makes a lot of sense, but especially once we reach, as I hope so, a large amount of, well, not just use cases, but people accessing the service, of course. And so in that regard, I wanted to ask Thomas about how can you track which is the use, of the use case management. I mean, imagine I'm a user, I'm entering here, I am from a public, a client, and so how that user can somehow give you that feedback on how they are using this as a tool for them, as because you can rate it. Well, it's very useful for me, but it's more use case management oriented for that use case in particular. But then I'm using this because I think it will be useful for me for my own use case. So how can we track this?
I'm not 100% sure if I understand the question. So you want to use a use case for your own company then?
Well, sorry. I think, yes, sorry. I will try to rephrase it. I think that we all are building this, or we will build this as a community, through this system of use cases from our industry. But in the end, this is like Australian boomerang. This is for the industry as well. So what I mean is, okay, we have, imagine that we reach that time and we have 1,000 use cases here. So, this is useful for me, so I want to use it. How will you track if it's really how I am using it? Because I can say as, okay, 3 stars, 4 stars. What's that? And it's different than this rating. It's another thing.
Like, it's really about the application in practice, basically, that it brings. I'm like, that is hard to track, to be honest, right? Because that is just based on actually the credibility of somebody acting as a testimonial. I see 2 ways, basically, how that could be working. I mean, like, we have now a lot of these mechanisms on the roadmap to at least allow that somebody can say, like, I'm using exactly that use case. But if you are using a derivation, slightly your own, I'm like, the analogy would be like, see it as a cooking recipe, right? And now you see, you're reading this cooking recipe there, this use case over there, but you see, like, oh, that doesn't perfectly fit my needs. So I need to twist it a bit, give it its own smack, but still you could actually leave this smack as a comment, for example, over here. Say, like, yes, the baseline, the bare bone, the skeleton of this use case is exactly what I have been using, but I had to slightly twist it, basically, to make it work in my company. For now, I see 2 ways how to do that. First, you could still be there as a testimonial and say, like, yes, thumbs up, works, but I leave a comment. Second way would be I take just this bare bone skeleton of this use case and I add my own new use case. What we hope for with this quality rating, and I'm like, that's exactly. Yeah, and here it comes because that makes things super complicated technically, right? But what we hope for is basically that with introducing the quality rating, that we also see a consolidation. I mean, like if you're getting in the use case management right now at the moment, you're trying to use the filter settings and so on, and then you're bombarded with use cases, and you don't have a clue basically what is good, what is bad, what is poor, what is best practice, right? But with this, and this, well, it starts also a bit with the chicken egg problem, right? Because the moment that we see adoption through community, we hope for this consolidation, meaning like that the most heavily used use cases shown and proven by the ranking and so on, gonna be easier and more accelerated in adoption. That is a bit like the idea, but we have to start from somewhere. But your idea about the forking, right? So that we also allow derivations, meaning like I took this as a base and I put my own twist on top. That would be, well, we have that on our minds, but we didn't start there. Thomas, something to add on this one? I hope I just summarized that correctly.
That's correctly.
Okay.
The use case management is also extended. Also companies, for example, they can apply for a tender, and then they can also develop use cases in the platform themselves. They do not have to publish these use cases, so we have this so-called co-collaboration space where you have your own space to develop. So you could take this use case and adapt it for yourself then. So make it available for your company in the use case management itself. So this is another possibility. If you have quite a number of different use cases, you can make use of this platform. So you can simply contact me and we can discuss how a setup could look like.
So there is still a lot to chew. Peter.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes. Good question here. Do you know today how the UCM is used? How many of the use cases are reused by others? Do you have any indication on that?
Yes, we know how much downloads do we have on the platform. We see how many users are on the platform, how active they are. But of course, if they download and use it for themselves, this is something we do not see anymore, of course.
Well, currently, because we didn't actually implement a system which really lets us really track it, right? We don't have a mechanism to trace it because the traffic on the page is not really reflecting the usage within the industry, which is actually what we want to achieve. But by at least giving the option that you leave a like, a comment, or whatsoever, we're hoping for that active indication by the community itself. So this was actually also one of the main key takeouts that we had when we have been discussing the whole thing in Norway, in Lillestrøm, the last summit, right? Because we have been interacting as part of this workshop and we have been asking the community what would be a proper way to do it. And one of the clear takeouts was basically we have to engage the community. So in this assessment, right, we have this first part that Thomas has shown, which is actually quite rather technical, that can be driven through this project team with clear indications, what is right and what is wrong, to rate the quality. But the second part is clearly more community-driven stuff, right? And we hope for, and it's still a hope, but hey, now's the time also to give us feedback, that this would allow tracing the activity, the usage, the adoption. If you have other ideas, I'm like, please share it. Think about it, share it. But that was the idea. We have another question, Thomas. Even more questions. Great.
Hi, Thomas. This is Susan Keenlyside. I was the awards program manager. Thanks for your collaboration to help connect the two together. I don't really have a question. I just want to commend you for these efforts. Every time I look at this, there's vast improvement and it's really getting exciting. One thing that we use in the awards, I just wonder, it's just an idea. I don't know if it's helpful, but considering the community nature of this and the validation of peer reviewing, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. For the awards, we have an extremely large jury, over 100 people, and what is quite popular is to have a social media template that each individual can use to promote what they're doing or what they've found. So either participating as a jury member, in this case, maybe it's something to consider, and Dan and Aiden are very quick at providing this. But a social media template's one where they can promote, I created this use case, have a look, or I used this use case, here's how I used it, or what project I used it on. And in that case, maybe to David's point, a bit more interaction of how people are using it and where, and promoting buildingSMART at the end of the day.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think, yeah, we can consider that we extend that a little bit on the use case management platform, that you could have kind of a discussion. But basically, it would be already possible, because we have this comment section where you see the comments, and you can add some more comments and start kind of a discussion there. This would already be possible, but maybe we have to do it a bit more interactive. So if this is really something we should use maybe for the awards program, then yeah, let's sit together and discuss it, how we can implement something. I think the awards, I would really appreciate if we could also show the awards here, because I think it's quite an easy way to implement it, and it's really a platform where you can share everything. So, but yes, let's discuss that. I'm really happy to do that.
For the awards, maybe it could work even backwards to the awards. Imagine that in awards there's I don't know if this is too much, but one of the requirements is to use the service to show up your processes. I mean, yeah, but and then it's retro feeding, you know. But I agree with her that, because now we have another service, which is not this one, enabling different chapters to interact and so on. And I'm there since the beginning. It's a pilot project, and with the humans within this association, it's very difficult to make them engage inside a bubble. So my suggestion as well, it's okay. We have to build here the possibility to provide feedback internally, but as long as we are not connecting this into where all of us digitally we are interacting, which is LinkedIn, that is all, or Twitter if you want, but especially LinkedIn, then that's the place in which maybe the community can get aware of this.
Yeah, certainly it needs a deeper implementation step to really make conversation available here. So I think it could be a way, but of course we need to see what would be there for, and if it is really the right way to do. But, yeah, as I said, let's sit together to see what is needed from maybe an award side, and what can we implement in a platform in an easy way, and do more interactive communication with such kind of platform.
Thomas, it's me again. I have another different question. From a chapter perspective, what is the ideal expectation from each chapter? I'm thinking in terms of translation of content, for example. What would be the ideal engagement from each chapter?
So, I mean, the use case management is a tangent system. So you are, as a chapter, fully responsible for the content of your chapter. So you can create new use cases, upload the use cases, make it public, but also, of course, you can cancel use cases, you can delete use cases. This is the nice part on the use case management. You are independent as a chapter for your content. So once you have administration rights, then you can do whatever is needed from your point of view.
Maybe I can also answer that more as an inspiration from the German chapter. You might know that we have also working groups on our level, right? Which is quite luxurious, right? But we're currently developing new guidelines, and these guidelines foresee that whatever is the output of such a working group, which has been static PDFs mainly, right? At least not written paper. But whatever is the outcome there, if it smells a bit like use case, you better use use case management to publish it. And we try our best to support that it finds its way to the use case management, just because unlike the outreach and publishing that centrally available, and we don't really have something to hide, use case management is the perfect tool for this, just to create this engagement of the community and so on. Still far from perfect, and I like the idea with the social media implementation, actually, because I didn't thought about that before, but it sounds like that this could be a great way how people can share that with pride, what they have been working on, and could be also one of the conclusions of such an project where people have been successfully working together. So not only the awards program, but also the regular work they are doing model-based, and that could be one of the outputs. So we are supporting that actively on our German level, and if you have similar ways in your national chapters, it would be great if you could also join it. If you need any support and so on, Thomas and I am here to help you with that. All right. We have a question, Thomas.
Cornelius, we do the second part because we like to go into the workshop session. We will explain it a little bit more detail what we do here, and then that we have enough time for question and answer by the end.
Is that fine? Can we shift your question to later? Okay. Let's talk. No, it's good. It's fine. We can continue with the workshop and get inspired by the questions, and then we have the question and answer session later. Thomas, then let's continue.
Okay, great. So we start a little bit with the workshop. Again, I like to show you how we will implement that, how it's really working, and we like to get a little bit your feedback. Because of course this was done in a small project group as a proposal, and we really like to have the community involved. We have a feature by the end which really helps you, and is the right feature to rate the quality of the use case. So as I said, we have these three parts. Part is more the technical part, which is done by a publication of a use case, that the completeness is checked, language is checked, authorship is checked, then the software integration, and the feedback from the community. One is feedback from community with testimonials, and the other one is that we have some likes. I go now into the details, how this looks like. I think this is the easy part. I already explained quite a few times here. The completeness check of these different steps. So you have the description of the use case, the process definition, exchange requirement, and IDS. And IDS will also be is the IDS verified by the audit tool itself, so that we can ensure that the use case is complete and the IDS is checked. The second one is the language. I think very important, because this one was one of the major point. We have a lot of use cases. Of course, we still have a bit of focus in the German-speaking part, as you will see. We have many use cases in German, but not in English. So if you like to have a 4 to 5 star use case, you have to translate your use case in English. So this will also raise quality and give better possibilities to give feedback on use cases. And then the last part is the author of the use case, so meaning the project team. I give you an example. For example, we have EU Horizon project, which published the use cases. But this EU Horizon project, of course, finished one day, and nobody is available anymore from this team. So this means it doesn't help the community if we cannot get feedback to a team to improve a use case. So this would mean it's just a one-star use case, even if the use case is a very good one. So this is the meaning of the authorship. And how would be the workflow? So the tenant owner is here responsible. Actually, this can be already done today by simply some checkboxes. We say, okay, is everything available? And then the system automatically checks if this applies to a use case. So this is quite an easy part. Second part is then the software integration level. So we have here 3 different levels. And here I like to hand over to Cornelius to maybe explain these 3 levels.
I guess we have to, yeah, thank you. The idea to also get the software vendors engaged and in the best way, quite actively, meaning like that we give them also the stage, all of the software vendors, right? We don't want to lock anybody into software, but of course a cooking recipe, like this is the analogy for such a use case, can be only as good as easy as it is to apply. And it's a reality that with software, it's quite tricky. So we wanted to give also software vendors a stage to also reflect on the use case management, how things can be implemented. And the baseline idea would be the degree of easiness, right, to implement it, and how much that is supported. Basically, that should be then the measurements, right? How easy to adopt this whole thing is. That could be a quite interesting thing to also engage software vendors instead of just pushing and publishing generic support documents into the community, to keep it more targeted, to keep it more focused on actual use cases, right? So if they would just actually take or extract the parts from their 200 pages of software documentation, which just refers to the one specific part, which is actually about the use case, how to get the job done, right? That is described in the use case, maybe even more specified exactly for the use case, so that it's easy to implement. That would be great, right? That is the core idea. So we introduced these 3 levels. The first one is this configured by project team. That means basically that there has been no specific support by the software vendor as such, right? It just means that we have limited or no pre-existing integration support, meaning like that the project team had to test and try a lot, and they found a way. I mean, like, I guess everybody knows that a bit from everyday practice, right? But you had to come up with workarounds. You had to find your ways through the software to make it run, to make it work. And it does, but it's not nicely supported. Unlike we have been challenging, I guess, these kind of things and seen in practice several times. So it requires significant effort and technical knowledge for the project team actually to get things done. Just imagine the cooking recipe again. It's tough. It's not easy to get it done because it's complicated and you have to go workarounds and these kind of things. This is level 1, okay? Then we have level 2. If you change the slide, thank you. The configuration example by the software vendor. So finally, we have the awareness, we have the attention by the software vendor. So they are aware of that this use case exists, and they have been also presenting something, or something was basically prepared specifically for that. This is exactly the stage I have been talking about. So there is vendor supplied documentation, templates, guides, so something that helps you to integrate, right? So it heavily reduces the technical burden. So you don't have to experiment around anymore, but there is specific support and specific help. This is the second stage. And finally, stage 3 would be there is a fully documented example on specifically this use case. So somebody says like, this part of the use case with our software, you can do it like this. Et voila. Take this configuration file, go here, put your ticks, whatever, in this option box and so on. And it's specifically supported. Maybe even there is a contact phone number you can call if you have any problems or whatsoever, right? This with this full degree of support specifically for that use case. And of course, that also means, right, because it could mean that it's many software vendors basically required to support the use case. This is also, of course, meant it's not only one, but it's many. True. Okay, now it's already answered. Yeah, that would also mean exactly this, because we know the number, not exactly, but we know basically what are the places where software, well, needs to be put in place. And that could also mean, of course, right, that there is in-house solutions and whatsoever to make it work.
Even one single software has different roles within the
Exactly.
So that's why I wanted to just the level of granularity of this rating.
Depends on the
software has different functions and different roles within the same use.
Well, that depends on the use case basically, and we start with the monolith, and then later on we have to most likely break it down into the different tasks. Although that's not so easy to answer basically, because as you said, it could be that you have one tool which fits all of these sizes, right, and does all of the jobs, but it could be also that you just have, well, I don't know, 50 different. Exactly. But that is also something, at least the idea to get also the software vendors engaged and get them integrated, more targeted, more specifically, I guess that could be a nice mechanism, right? Or how we can also help the community later on and potentially also help software vendors to see, right, where is still gaps. Because if the feedback by the community is, well, we have been basically using your software, but we had to experiment a lot around, that could be also be an indicator for them where to improve, right? So just, well, thinking a bit around this whole thing, right, how that could work. And we have been already getting in touch with software vendors, because I'm like, at least I get often the question by software vendors, how can we support you, and so on. The use case management could be key to have a more structured approach from both sides, to give them a better indication in which direction to develop. And also because I'm like, it could be many software vendors that are suitable for the same job, for the same task. You could say that's competition. Of course, I'm like, we have competition in that market, but it could also mean that they can basically see like, oh, there is another software vendor who has already supported this documentation. We can do that too. So let's add also our documentation there, so that people are aware of that this use case can be done also with our software. Could be another approach. Lorenzo, you have a question?
Just to understand what is the idea behind this. So this full documented solution should be part of the use case into the use case management. Okay, and so the experts, some experts should assess if this is really working or not. Yeah, so chapters or experts have to do this. Yeah.
That would still be basically confirmed then by the tenant owners, right? That is, yeah, that would be, that would.
Here.
You don't hear us?
I can do so I showed you before the structure of the use case, where you saw at the end of the use case that you have the comment section. And in addition to the comment section, you would have this integration level of the software on the use case management website. And here you would have, of course, the indication. So you see the integration level from 0 to 3. And in this example, we have a configuration example by the software vendor. And then you get the information of the software. So what kind of software version you have, what kind of IFC was used. And we will add some more criteria. And then, of course, the software vendor has here to write his statement, how this was used. And he can upload some document to that, so that you see here the fully documented content here from which was done by the software vendor. And what we will do is we have kind of a proven workflow where the software vendor makes a statement in the backend. So he works directly in the platform. Once he says, okay, I will send this statement for approval, the tenant owner gets the notification. He verifies the content and also the proposed level, so that, of course, it must be a quality consideration behind it. And it goes back to the software vendor if the content was not done in a good way, or if some adaptations are needed. And on the other hand, once it's approved by a checkbox on the use case management backend side, it will be automatically assigned to the front end, so it can switch from a 3-star to a 4-star use case, for example. So this is done without a new publication, but you will see that it's available. What we also consider is that you get a notification system that you see, okay, in the last few weeks, we had these changes in the quality rating, so that you see you have more and more 4- and 5-star use cases, for example. So this is the workflow, and how it will be shown on the use cases directly on the website. So maybe what we can do now, we like to have a little bit your feedback. So we prepared the Mentimeter.
Question answer. Okay. Sure. Now it's time to get an age.
And point out, use this QR code.
People are scanning right now, so leave the slide for a moment.
Of course, also, please, also from the people that joined us online, you can do that as well. It might be very important for us because feedback is always best to improve the system.
Right. People are still scanning a bit, so we wait for a moment. You can confirm with this like that you are there. It seems like that already. People are joining. Everybody done? Somebody not done. I guess that's the easy way. Okay, at least people in presence are ready.
Okay, so I'm gonna switch to the first question. So this software integration level, so this part, how helpful is this feature to assess the quality of the use case? So should be software vendors be engaged in the use case management? Should they give some feedback? Are these 3 steps logic and easy to understand? Okay.
So we give you just a moment. But I think almost everybody is now done. So it seems like that it's helpful, but must be applied more simply. So it seems like that our solution yet is a bit too complicated, Thomas.
Yeah, that's good. So this is a second part. Now we need your feedback. What can we do? How can we make it a bit more easy? How can we make it more user-friendly, more better? What should we implement for better understanding? So any suggestion from your side, just type in what you have in mind.
But we also have the chance for questions or just answering. So if you have now also something to say, please just raise your hand and then we can go into a discussion. Oops.
Yeah. Hi, Thomas. Just the notion of the software integration, what strikes me is how do you find that balance with the flexibility you need as a user to tailor or localize the use cases or the needs with the software implementation? And the other question I have while I have the mic is, how do you see, or what is the relationship with the IDS, the information delivery specification?
Yeah. Okay, for the tailorship, yes, of course, every software will implement a use case slightly different. This is exactly the meaning here of this configuration example or solution example. So the software vendor should really document how it's implemented in the software, how can a use case be executed in this specific software. We had already some experience with the use case, the reinforcement use case, where we had three different software vendors, and they made basically this configuration example. So they made a document how this use case can be applied in the software. And I think this, of course, the three software vendors, they are not exactly the same documentations, how use case is applied in the software. But of course, after that, you can say, okay, I work in this specific software. I have an example, a configuration example. I can use this one and try it out. And the other thing is, of course, use cases should be a living thing. So we have new IFC versions, for example, or we have some other changes. So they should be adapted. Therefore, it's so important that somebody is responsible and remains responsible for a use case. That the use case can be adapted in a good way. So this is the first part, and the second part, IDS. The result of a use case is always exchange requirements. So if you use case management is according to the IDM, Information Delivery Manual standard, and this standard says that you have an exchange requirement in a human readable way. That means this was this table I showed you before. There you see all the properties, for example, which are required for a use case. And then, of course, you should also create an IDS. You can use any tool available on the market. And then once this other tool is available, then you're going to check this IDS that it's verified, and then it can be uploaded, and of course it can be downloaded. The whole use case can be downloaded and should be used. Does this explain it?
Thank you.
Good morning, Thomas Schiffenreise, Swiss Family Airlines. I do have a question. From my understanding, the software integration level has to be assessed by the tenant itself that created the use case. Now let's just pretend that there is a public client that is tenant of this use case, or that the public client is part of a group that is a tenant of this certain use case. Are there any, let's say, ideas on how a software integration can be assessed by public clients in respect of the regulations of neutrality towards software vendors, or are public clients not the key target group or a target group anymore of use case management?
Of course, they're also the target group. But I think it's more software vendors. They have to make the documentation themselves, and the check from the tenant owner is only when we have quality check. Somebody can just write something and give some contents, and then it's automatically published. So it needs somehow a board which can assess these statements. And what you mentioned with your user group, I think there's more the testimonial part, which should give feedback how this could be used. And of course, this must be then stated in a neutral way.
Hi, I would like to question a little bit about the idea that the integration of software is its quality. I mean, what is the point of view here? Is use case quality is it means that is well documented, that is well explained and there is all information you need to apply that use case, or is how many software houses are implementing these and are, let's say, it's market. It's interesting from a point of view of a software house market. It's sometimes you can have very good use case, but software houses are not interested in helping you in this because they don't see any market value. But this doesn't mean that the use case is not good. So is this the only, I mean, it could be it's very interesting information to have if software houses are offering you support in implementing the use case, but I don't think this means that use case is good.
Yeah. Maybe it's quite a difficult question, yeah. But I think what we like to do here is that we have kind of market-driven feedback. What we could consider is that we get a lot of testimonials, for example, from users, but we do not have the software integration that we still allow that a use case can be rated in a higher way, because the quality assessment here should be really driven by the market. So if really the community says, hey, this is really perfect use case, we can use it, but software vendors do not show interest actually to make a documentation to it, then we should also consider that for the quality rating. That's maybe a good feedback from you, yes.
In the end, it's just one of the quality criterion, right? I'm like, in the end, it's a complicated system, and so because I'm like, it just reflects, of course, the complexity of the process itself to implement the whole thing, because it takes not only technology and tools like software, but also the processes, the human, and in the end, it's also taking into account the regulations, right? Standards and so on. So it's just one cornerstone. It's an important one, I guess. But I'm like, you can see, and it's also reflected in how Thomas has shown actually the rating system. So you can have a great use case. It's really awesome. It's really amazing. But in the end, it's super hard to implement because the software doesn't properly support it. That could be a nice indicator for somebody from outside to see like, oh, okay, I have to invest a lot of investigation and technical effort basically to get it done. That's good to know in advance, and it might be a good indicator for a software vendor. Okay, here is a weak point we have to support. We have to actually make it work easier, and that's for all of the software vendors outside. And it's the other way around. The other way around would be, I'm like, we have a poor use case, but it has great support for technical implementation. But it's also good to know, because then it says just like, software vendors, please stop to support this one, because nobody, I'm like, you're now actually supporting something that nobody actually uses. Does that make sense? We have now 2 people. Okay. Now, it's good to have the discussion, so don't get me wrong, right? This is exactly the feedback we wanted to have.
I just wanted to support what Lorenzo was saying, that this is not actually a quality criteria. It is a good criteria to understand accessibility, or ease of implementation, or what level of effort is required for me to use it off the street. But I agree with Lorenzo. I think it's a very important point that that's not actually a quality criteria.
Just one idea, what if we would split it between the quality of the use case and the ease of adoption? So if that would be 2 different things, and we strictly differ between them.
Assess the level of effort to use it. Yeah,
okay.
It's great. Yeah.
You want to add something?
Yeah, it's expanding or not, or related to Lorenzo's and also now Susan's as well. Are these use cases, let's say, software-centric or not? Because, of course, software is related to each of the use cases. But if we want to identify how clear is one particular industry use case, of course, we will need tools, but we need other things rather than tools. And I think that well, sometimes, not just here in other discussions and so on, it's always software oriented. And there are other aspects within the use case that it's more than software. And of course, we have to stop and trying to maybe not measure the quality of how that software is doing, but that's why I put that. Okay, how many number tools we need for this use case? Regardless, those tools are making a good job or not for that, but maybe there is one use case in which maybe we don't need more than email, and this is also an industry use case and more work, So I think that maybe it should not be so software centric when we are communicating what is this use case management service for. That's a great point, because I guess from here now, what we could think of is basically that we change terminology here, and that it's not software, but that we're talking about tools and technology. Because in the end, of course, it's not so much about actually that we want to support any specific software vendor as a company or something like that, because the answer could be, of course, that it's a completely different tool. It could be open source, it could be whatever. That's all allowed, that's all fine, of course, but what we want to reflect is this ease of adoption, because if it means that it's something which requires technical implementation knowledge and so on, we want to track that. We want to reflect that in the use case and clearly give users an indicator. Please take that into account, that it's hard to implement. So maybe if we change this, so first of all, what I get as key takeouts here is that we should distinguish between ease of adoption and the quality of the use case as such. And then we dig deeper into this, not so much software, but technology and tools, which would allow, and that is, of course, that there is no doubt, there is multiple different answers to the one question, how to deal with it, right? And in the end, it's always a unique compilation of tools that could be open source, that could be, it could be even manually. If somebody has fun with, moving Excel sheets around and get the job done, it's a solution. As long as it gets the job done, it's fine. So that we also, identify and discuss this one a bit more in detail. Right. We have one more question.
Just as an end user on that, to continue that train of thought. So from a software or tool point of view, it is very helpful for me to understand what tools were used by other people to achieve that. So in the Autodesk stack, you can use this tool, or you can use this suite of tools, or it can be accomplished using these tools, but it doesn't mean I have to use those ones. But at least when I look at it and I think, okay, I have this project right now, I already know we have licenses for this. Okay, we can actually do that right now. Or no, I need to put in a request. It's going to take a year to get training and learn that software. So it's a bigger goal strategy. So from an implementation point of view, for me anyways, it would be really helpful to know who's using what, even if that's not what I choose at the end of the day.
Yeah, maybe you would be surprised what tools are used for which job, right? You never know. Excel for BIM modeling? Why not? Okay, Thomas, I guess we're good to go and continue.
Okay, this was the software integration part. So the next part would be the testimonial. Also here, a testimonial should really give some positive feedback about the applicability of this use case, and give an endorsement actually from our users. I think this would be very helpful. So it should be integrated in a very easy way for users. So they just have to provide some statements and give us some hints about how these use cases are implemented and adapted to their own needs. I think this missing part here, the testimonials, so far we didn't have these testimonials. It really helps to build some trust also for others, because they see, okay, we have quite a numbers of users. They already worked with that, and they had a positive meaning of that. So it really pushes also the use cases. Also here, maybe how could this look like then? Of course, you need the information of the reviewer, of the person who makes these testimonials. It would be helpful name and first name and the company. Of course, because the testimonials so far are just for the registered users, because we like to know who gives us feedback. So if you're registered, of course, this will be automatically assigned. And then it would be nice to know what kind of role that the reviewer has. So we propose here that we just take the different roles from the 9650. So appointing party or appointed party or task team, so that you know what kind of role this person had. Then we like to have some few information about the project, the project name, maybe the size of a project, which is simply a drop down of 4 or 5 values, and what kind of sector this was in these use cases. Also, this here is the railway section is important, basically from the use case management. Also, the life cycle management. In which stages were this use case, this is also important. So basically you have just to put in 2 or 3 information here manually. The rest is already available from the use case in the backend. And then we like to have a short project description, and then a description how the use case was implemented, and maybe some added value, what you generated, or other comments, of course, for this testimonial. You can also upload some documents if you like, and then you submit that. So this is the way how a testimonial could look like. Of course, we could also do it in an easier, smaller way, where you just have to write something. But we like to really have some a bit information about the project which was executed with. So this is how it looks like. Also here we have a approval workflow. So it's kind of the same, where you write the testimonials. The tenant owner will be notified. He looks at the testimonial, gives some feedback if necessary, or if not, he says, okay, publish this testimonial, and then it will be assigned directly to the rating system. So here we try to keep the effort for the tenant owner or for the responsible person for the use case as low as possible. Again, we have here a mentor. So the next one, so for the testimonial. So how helpful is a testimonial? Is this feature too complicated, or is it easy to use? Yeah, for the question, and later then the question how we can improve. So I think we had about 12, 13 people here on the audience.
But again, during the voting, maybe if there is somebody who wants to comment, Lorenzo.
Yes, it seems like the tenant owner has a big role here, because what is going to be the review is not standardized, or it's a free text, and sometimes could be difficult to understand what reviewer are saying, and also you need the expert to assess if the review is really a good review, or is it just a fan of the use case. So it's like in the end it's still the tenant owner that have to decide if it's really a good review or not, and could be not so easy when we go on practical operational part.
Yeah. We also considered that. I think the other way is you just say, okay, everybody can write something, and then it's published, and it flows directly into the assessment. I think the publication, of course, if you write a testimonial, it will be immediately published. But if it should flow into the rating system, I think somebody has to make a short review about the statement, because we still see some people, they just write some, sorry to say, some bullshit. And if we take the such kind of content and say, okay, yes, very bad feedback, also a rating for quality, and we rate that because it's the feedback, we rate it higher. This is not the way we should do it. But yeah, we may have to consider how we can do it easy, maybe with less text and more clicks on drop-down menus, things like that. Okay, feedback here. So I think the feature would be good, but still we need to adapt it a little bit. So again, please give us the feedback. What could we do here to make it more user friendly, or increase the quality of this testimonial?
Social media broadcasting. Is that from you? Would you explain a bit on that?
Yeah, so we have the testimonial piece in the awards as well. It's a great way to get official quotes, stakeholder. The word testimonial is very good, but it's also very good from a peer review. So to hear what your peers are saying, and when it comes to this type of feedback, people can be quite blunt, which is good and bad. But at the end of the day, it's an opportunity. This is a community-based sort of crowdsourcing business model. So being able to promote and share, I think, is part of the game here, and many are looking for that kind of engagement. So either promoting that you've created a use case, or promoting that you've used one, or demonstrating that you are applying what buildingSMART is offering outside of the network that already knows all about it.
But that is the important thing. I mean, like, here, use case management could actually help us to increase our outreach, right, in a very meaningful way, because in the end, if it helps people outside of the buildingSMART community to get things done, that would be nice. Okay, great idea. We have a bit more. Web page link is also valuable. Not all the documents should be posted to UCMS. Well, that is already available, isn't it, Thomas?
Already available.
Yeah. So, like the editor tool that you can use in the use case management allows you actually to put a lot of content there, any kind of links and media files and these kind of things. So there is a lot of these things already available. Of course, you can only see it if you have access to the co-creation space, something like the editor mode, you could say, and that is only available for the tenant owners. But if you have questions on this one, you can always get back to Thomas and me, and we can answer these questions.
Cornelius?
Yeah, we're running
on time management. We have 7 minutes left. I would like to get a lot of feedback.
Yes, please. Let's continue.
Okay.
Well, it's a good thing that the interest is huge.
Okay, then the next would be that we talk maybe here with option B is easier to understand. This will not be part of the rating system, but we like to have some better feedback from the community. So we introduce the possibility to add some likes. So there are 2 options for which we propose. So option 1 would be you have just simply a like, and you have the possibility to make a comment. This would be the very easy way. And the bit other way would be that you can make a rating from excellent to not usable, so that you see here kind of a rating where you see 78%. of 300 ratings. So you have better feedback about the quality, of course, but it's a bit more complicated. Also here, if you rate a use case as fair or not usable, we'd like to have a feedback, what could be improved or what was not good on this feedback. So this would require mandatory feedback on the comment section. So these are the two possibilities we propose. Maybe you have another one. So we switch back to Mentimeter. So the question would be, should be option A with the user rating, so with these 5 stars, where you say, okay, this is what I like to do, or option B, which is very easy, just to put a like, or you say we need to see something else would be better. Okay, Cornelius, have you all feedback?
Do we have feedback? No hand raise.
Okay, so user rating would be preferred.
Seems like.
So also here, possibility to give, but I like to skip that because we have 4 minutes left and like to finish. So, but you have the possibility to still write some feedbacks here in the Mentimeter, and then we will consider that later on in the development of the solution. So, what is the roadmap for implementation of this feature? So, I think in the next few months we will do the specification phase so that we have a clear specification. Thanks a lot for your feedback. It's very valuable feedback. So we need to do some other action to see. We are happy to do that. And then somewhere in the second half of 2024, we will implement that in the software. And then we consider a rollout phase so that the features are available and use case can be rated. But the rating itself is, of course, not yet available on the platform. So the community doesn't see that because in the beginning you will have only a few ratings, and we like to have enough time that the people, community, and the vendor can do their part, and then about the second half of 2025, the rating will be available. So this is what we consider a good. And now we are finished with the rest. So we still have 2 minutes left.
For questions now. Okay, thank you, Thomas. That was a great wrap up. Is there any questions on the roadmap? We have at least 2 minutes. Better than no minutes. I mean, like, whenever you have a question, whenever you have feedback for us, that's invaluable. So please, just get in touch with Thomas or me. Just let us know. We're happy actually to incorporate somehow your feedback. And well, it's important to listen to the community because that's now maybe the new community-driven approach with use case. So you have the contact over there on the slides. And yeah, last but not least, I mean, like, all of this, of course, is not available. It's not possible if we have the proper funding. So we're looking for these funding streams at the moment also. The German-speaking chapters fully support that approach. If you feel that your chapters are actually also supporting this, if you feel that should be a project that we should drive with more speed forward, well, then please also get in touch with us. Because like, it's community driven, so we need the community. Is there any questions? Great job. Thanks to Thomas. I mean, like, he did 99% of all of this. So thank you very much, Thomas. There is no questions. I guess we just hit the point. Thank you so much. All the best to Switzerland and see you around. And you will be in Marrakesh, right? That's the plan. All right. So
enjoy your time in Valencia, and thank you very much for your contributions. Very helpful for us, and yeah, we will start with the implementation. Okay. Thanks a lot, and have a good day.
thank you.
Thank you, Thomas and Cornelius, and thank you for all the attendees. We're looking forward to seeing you at other sessions of the summit.